And we are back with our second match of our preliminary rounds for our content creator tournament. For this match we have TZ111 from Strictly Broken TCG, as well as PPGCattani from Pro Play Games. Okay, and looks like TZ111 is using Royal Paladin, while PPGCattani is using Shadow Paladin, just like our previous game. Both players are moving into their opening hands. Oh, it looks like Mr. Cattani over there. It's off to a great start, having the Blaster Javelin in his hand, unlike FGC Neo in our previous game. And Cattani takes the first move, and he's going to be riding Blaster Javelin, and he will be getting that bonus of getting a Blaster Dark from his deck. Okay, TZ111 rides late Min and Lien, calling Wingo Brave to the back. Not calling any rear guards, he's going straight into the attack. Okay. And both players not getting a trigger. Okay. Back to Mr. Cattani. And he has indeed rode the Blaster Dark that he got previously through Blaster Javelin's ability. Oh, but it doesn't attack. Interesting strategy. Trying to damage deny TZ so they can't use Wingo Brave's ability that requires a counter blast to use. But TZ is going full offensive, attacking him with his K and next. Oh! But Cattani gets the draw trigger. Meaning no matter what happens, he's not going to be able to hit him even gets a trigger, but he can still try to drive check to get his own draw trigger to increase his cards. Which he didn't. Unfortunate. Okay, Mr. Cattani did not have the Phantom Blaster Dragon in his hand, so he was forced to go into the Phantom Blaster Overlord. It's still a very solid ride. However, he won't be getting that cross-eye bonus of having an additional 2,000 power during both players' turns. Okay, Mr. And Cattani is going for the Maka. Calling a grade 1 to the same column as her. Which one will you choose? And she goes for the Charon. Pretty interesting, pretty good play. The 17k attack is still very strong, especially considering if TZ goes into Majesty Lord Blaster with 1 damage, making it 17k, it's still able to hit. Hitting with the Curse Lancer first so that he can counter-charge. Oh, using the Vanguard to attack the rear guard, trying to weaken TZ's attack. Cattani still has a Maka to attack the Blaster Blade, but TZ does get a draw trigger, which does help him out in this situation. Okay, TZ with 3 Gan slots in his hand, however, he has 2 Blaster Blades, or 3 Blaster Blades out. That means he won't be able to send those other 2 Gan slots back to his deck. Which means, folks, TZ is essentially playing with 2 heals only in his deck. Okay, choosing not to use Blaster Blade skill. Oh, and calling again slot. Probably saving his Blaster Blades for later on in the game. TZ able to attack Cattani's rear guard, boosted with Wingo Brave, so he's able to use the ability to hit the Blaster Dark. Using as a last attacker, Blaster Blade goes in for a damage. But Cattani does get a heal trigger, So it's as if he just gave Kattani his own free counter blast, and he also discarded and drew into the Gancelot. Things are really not looking good for TZ right now. Alright, Kattani not riding, but he's gonna call in another Maka, and because he did get 2 counter bosses back through his Steel Trigger and his Cursed Lancer, he's able to use Maka's ability again to call a Nightmare Painter. And he's gonna play the Nightmare Painter to put his Phantom Blaster Dragon into the Phantom Blaster Overlord Soul, so that he gets the permanent plus 2k during both players' turn. Okay, Maka's gonna take the first swing at TZ's Blaster Blade, leaving TZ wide open for his Phantom Blaster Dragon Overlord for his attack.
Vanguard attack.
And interesting, he does have the Persona Blast, but he chose not to use them, maybe saving it for later. TZ did get a trigger, but it doesn't matter because Masquerade and Charon's combined power is 20,000, meaning it does hit him. TZ playing the Blaster Blade, deciding if he wants to retire any of Kattani's cards, which he does. He gets rid of the Masquerade. Oh, and he is playing the Blaster Dark, meaning he does fulfill the condition to use Majesty Lord Blaster's ability. Calling a second Blaster Blade, that's a very interesting move. He does get a draw trigger to help him on that. Okay. And as you see, folks, he did choose to put the Blaster Blade in the back row to use for Majesty Lord Blaster's ability, so that he can get a Blaster Blade in the front row for defensive purposes. But because Kattani checked that draw trigger during TZ's previous attack, it was too much power for him to break through. Though it didn't really matter, to be honest. Kattani did have a Sentinel in his hand to block Majesty Lord Blaster's attack anyway. But you know, they didn't know that. Kattani playing in the main, and is going to discard a second copy. Oh, nope. He discarded a Masquerade to draw 2 additional cards. Interesting, he's giving up his fighting power in order to increase his resources. Okay, calling a second Masquerade. And going on for the attacks now.
Vanguard attack.
And is Kattani gonna use the ability of Phantom Blaster Overlord? Oh, he is! Getting 10,000 power and a critical. Oh, and TZ does not have a Sentinel in his hand, so he has to hope that he gets a heal trigger, which I don't think he has any more. Maybe just one, or let's see. Oh, he didn't get it, which means the first game does go to Mr. Kattani. Okay, folks, it's time for game 2. Okay, folks, it's time for game 2 of PPGCattani versus TZ111, with PPGCattani leading the score 1-0 so far. And this time we have PPGCattani going first again. Okay. Both players' hand. Both of them are really good right now. They both can do what both their decks does. If that makes sense. Okay, and Kattani is going for the Blaster Dark again. Very fortunate. And TZ is going for Lake Maiden Lien again. Starting to see a pattern. Interesting, using the Rearguard Lien to try to fix up his hand a little bit. Oh, and it did get significantly better. Now he has a spare blaster to use during turn 2. But unfortunately he gets an early game heal trigger, which goes to his drop zone instead of healing one of his damage later on like he would want to. Okay, Kattani goes for the Blaster Dark again. Let's take a see what else he does right here. Oh, not even playing any rear guards. And once again, he is damage denying TZ111, so he can use his Wingo Brave. But looks like he rides Blaster Dark regardlessly. I don't know word regardlessly. Moving in straight for an attack. Oh, and Kattani loses a Sentinel, which may cost him the game later on. And Kattani rides the Phantom Blaster Dragon, getting the complete ride chain so far. And Superior Clawing Full Bow behind him. See what else he has up his sleeve right now. Gotta use his card skill to discard a Phantom Blaster Dragon, only to draw into a second Phantom Blaster Dragon. Oh, that's gotta hurt. Okay, gonna move straight into attack. First with Masquerade. TZ getting no damage trigger. Kattani goes for his Vanguard attack. 2 Charons. No triggers at all. But TZ does get a draw trigger this time. Drawing it into a Bedivere. That 12k hit is gonna be really valuable later on in this game. Okay, TZ choosing not to use Blaster Blade skill to retire Kattani's Masquerade, choosing the harder route of attacking it. Okay, let's see who attacks next. It's very important, folks, because if Kattani gets a draw trigger, or any trigger at all, then it's gonna be a little bit more difficult if he didn't attack with his Bedivere first. This tension is really getting to me right now. Oh, he's going straight in for the Majesty Lord Blaster, choosing to do 2 damage instead of 1 if in the event that Kattani has a Sentinel in his hand, which we all know he does. Oh, and going for the Wingo Brave. Interesting move. But he does have a K in his hand, so he might be able to use it as a booster for his Majesty Lord Blaster next turn. Kattani is going for the Cross Ride again. Since he completed the entire ride chain from Full Bow to Phantom Blaster Overlord, he is gonna get that 13k body for this game, unless he Soul Blasts out his Phantom Blaster Dragon somehow. Okay, and he's deciding whether or not to play any more rear guards against TZ's field. It's really interesting. Both players' hand are essentially almost the same as their field. However, TZ is leading with only 2 damage. Okay. Oh. And Kattani is actually, yes, he is activating his skill to retire his full ball, to retire Lake Maiden Lien. Getting rid of boosters right now would be a good idea because he is pretty behind in terms of damage. So he wants to limit how much damage TZ does next turn. Gets a very well needed draw trigger and a second draw trigger. Unfortunately, that one was a Phantom Blaster Overlord, so he lost 1 Persona Blast. And TZ going in for taunt, that's the first. Okay, even in damage right now, but the field is drastically different now. I feel, in terms of field presence, it looks like TZ is behind now, playing the Blaster Blade to even the odds a little bit. And he is going to call that K as a booster. But now the decision is he going to call the Bedivere and the K to get that 19k hitter, or is he going to try to play it safe for another turn? Oh, and he is not. He is actually just going to go all out right now, calling his Bedivere, but he's going to call the K. Interesting move. He's not going to call a K booster, which means that his Bedivere can't attack, but he can be a little bit defensive with a additional interceptor with Bedivere. And he does get a offensive draw trigger, but that's not going to really do much good right now because Kattani does respond with a Sentinel. Oh, I guess the draw trigger did help. He did let his Bedivere hit, but unfortunately Kattani does get the heal trigger, which meant he gave him another free counterblast. Quite unfortunate. Okay, and what is Kattani gonna do now? Is he gonna ride? Nope, he's gonna move on to his main phase. Actually, I think about it, why would he ride? And what's he gonna do now? Is he gonna try to snipe off another booster? Oh, he is! Choosing to get rid of TZ's K, which is a good move on his end during the last turn then. Saving a K for next turn possibly. Oh, and he's calling his other Phantom Blaster Overlord. Interesting. Guess he's gonna try to go for the full offensive blunt, but he has no grade 2s to act as interceptors. Which means whatever TZ has in mind next turn, he can go straight into Vanguard on Vanguard attacks. Oh, and he also does get a heal trigger, which also helps him out. 3 Sentinels and 1k in hand. What is he going to do? Well, for sure, next turn, Kattani won't be able to finish off TZ. Oh, interesting. Calling his Sentinel out for as an attacker. And he does draw out the Sentinel from Kattani, leaving Kattani no cards in hand. Things don't look too well for him, considering TZ does have 2 Sentinels in his hands. Okay, he did draw into the main, but that's not gonna do him much good because he can't use her ability because he has no other cards in hand, so he's forced to play and then go into his battle phase. Oh, getting another heal trigger, very lucky. Putting him back to 3 damage. The This is quite the game of cat and mouse here, folks. TZ dropping his first sentinel, having one more in his hand. Okay, what will TZ do now? Getting a second Majesty Blaster... Majesty Lore Blaster. He does have to get over that in the main. Okay, so go ahead and hitting him within the main. Hitting the main with Majesty Lore Blaster Rearguard. Oh! Folks, last game there was no heal triggers going back and forth. Now it's like non-stop heal triggers, and he also gets a draw trigger. Which means if Kattani doesn't finish him off next turn, he's in for a world of hurt. With that Paladin TZ had in his hand. Unfortunately, he only drew a Nightmare Painter, not a defensive card and not a very strong offensive card. We gotta go into game 3, folks. What will Kattani do? Oh, and he's going for the third time this game. He's gotta snipe off TZ's booster. And another heal trigger, folks. Another one. And another draw trigger. Whoa. I know World Paladin and Shao Paladin are supposed to be opposites, but who knew, even in the games, it's gotta be like the opposite moves. Like a little reflection. Almost like poetry. But unfortunately, TZ did have that Sentinel, which means Kattani was unable to finish him off this turn. And with only a Phantom Blaster Overlord in his hand, he can't block TZ's Vanguard attack. Oh, and he also has an Alpha in his hand, which means he can call a booster if he has any more in his deck. Which I think he does. Where is TZ gonna place that Alfred? Checking his opponent's drop zone to see if he's out in the heal triggers or how many triggers he's out. Trying to plan out the safe move since TZ is currently behind on games right now. Okay, calling out the Palamedes. We're at 13k attacker. And he is going to use the Alfred skill to call... Oh, interesting. He's calling Blaster Dark. And he's calling the Blaster Blade. Very interesting. Oh, okay, so try to use Majesty Lord Blaster skill twice in one game. How very cheeky of him. Now Kattani does need a heal trigger. Oh, but he doesn't get it. So we are moving on to game 3. Okay, folks, we have to move on to game 3 of PPGCattani versus TZ111. The score is currently 1-1, so let's see who's gonna come out on top of this match. And for the third time in this game, Kattani is gonna go first. Oh, however, this time he does not have his Blaster Javelin. Maybe he'll get it from his mulligan? Oh, and he does not. And what's worse, Kattani is forced to ride his Sentinel because he has no other grade 1 in his hand. It's a very rocky start for Kattani. And unfortunately, TZ111 has popped back into the rest of his strategy. Guess when one person's unlucky, another person has to be really lucky, right? On a small bright side, at least he gets his Blaster Dark, so his Phantom Blaster Dragon will have 11,000 power. Choosing to call his mains to the back row so he doesn't give TZ any more targets to attack, I suppose. And going for the same strategy of denying TZ any damage so he can't use Vanguard Brave, a common strategy used against Royal Paladin players. Now, but the main question is, what if the Vanguard Brave is just a bluff? What if, like, his main Vanguard is Paladin? Wouldn't that be an interesting plot twist? Okay, and Kattani going into Phantom Blaster Dragon, calling full wall behind him. Okay, what else is he gonna do? Is he gonna call any more attackers, or is he gonna settle down for just a Vanguard attack? Tension is really in the air for this match. It's 1-1, go either way. Kattani moving his main to the front row, what with Chris Lancer inside. Probably trying to go for 3 attacks, however that draw trigger is gonna put a damper on those plans. And TZ drawing into another Sentinel. Very lucky. But Kattani does get a heal trigger, which kind of balances out a little bit. Let's get a second to appreciate Phantom Blaster Dragon's attack animation. It looks really, really cool. Okay, is TZ gonna go for an early game setup? Is it called Paladin, or is it called the Blaster Blade? He's in a very good spot right now, so the sky's the limit with him right now. Okay, calling the Blaster Blade to the front row. Is he gonna call is he gonna move it back and call a Paladin for an additional attack? Oh, he's not. He's just gonna go straight for his Blaster Blade and his Blaster Dark attacks, and then followed up by his Magic Lord Blast attack. And he also checks another draw trigger. Everything seems to be going very well for TZ this game. Choosing to get a Blaster Dark instead of a Blaster Blade. Interesting. He might be trying to he might try to get the Blaster Dark so that if he happens to draw into a ground slot, he can just fetch out the Blaster Blade through ground slot's ability. But who knows, what if TZ is in a situation where he really needs the Blaster Blade but doesn't get it? Or doesn't have it? But looking over at Kattani's hand,
Vanguard にアタッ
He
ク
is
ファース
currently not in a very good
トセ
position
カンドゲット
with no sentinels. Yep, no sentinels and drawing into a heal
ダ
trigger.
メージチェック
It's gonna be a very difficult battle for him,
アタック
especially with only one interceptor.
ダメージチェック
But TZ does get a heal trigger that doesn't go off. Okay, what is TZ gonna do now? It's pretty much set up for the rest of the game. Actually, now that I take a look at it. He has 2 interceptors. He's only at 4 damage. Has 2 sentinels.
ヴァンガードにアタック
He's really
ファー
nice
ストチェ
right
ックセカンドチェックドロートリガー
Oh, and a draw trigger for the 100th time in this game alone.
ゲッ
And another sentinel goes down. Unfortunately,
トスタンドアンドド
Bedivere is too weak in terms of power right now, so he can't hit Kattani's Phantom Blaster Dragon, so TZ has to end his turn, bringing it back to Kattani. Kattani not having a Phantom Blaster Overlord just goes into his main phase. He's gonna activate his skill right now, so that he could probably, like, you know, even the playing field a little bit and get an additional critical trigger. A critical. Yes, he is. He's gonna retire
頼み
TZ's Bedivere. Good move.
スペリオン
Calling a bad car into a masquerade. Things are starting to look up a little bit. Let's see if it's enough.
頼みます
Calling the Charon behind the bad car. Bad car, bad car. How do you guys pronounce it? Let us know in the comments below. Because I've been calling it a bad car for the longest time.
コーン
And he's not going to use Blaster Javelin skill. Nor is he do it again, which is obviously a good move. But what is he gonna do? What's up his sleeve now?
スキル発動
Oh, interesting. He's going to use Phantom Blaster Dragon skill again. However, folks, it's very unfortunate because we all know that TZ does have the Sentinels to block this massive attack, as well as the Palamedes to attack with.
ヴァンガードにアタックファーストゲットドロートリガー
Oh, and at least he top decked into a Sentinel, so it's not all too bad. Hopefully.
ヴァンガードにアタック
ダメージチェック
ヴァンガードにアタック
And he has another, and TZ uses another Sentinel to block
スタンド
off
アンドドロー
Kattani's last attack. Oh, and there's that Gunslot we mentioned earlier. But does he have any more Blaster Blades to search for? Okay, there's one over there.
スキル発動
Oh, he does. Bringing his skill back to get his last Blaster Blade. And he has 5 open counter blasters, I believe.
頼んだよ
So he's
スキル
able to
発
use
動
Blaster Blade's skill to retire Kattani's Interceptor. Oh, but instead he's choosing to retire his Phantom Blaster Overlord.
ゴール
Phantom Blaster Dragon. Alright, folks.
アタック
Now what's TZ gonna do? Is he gonna try to bait out a Sentinel, or is he gonna go straight for the Vanguard attack? Oh, and he is gonna go straight for the Vanguard attack. And we see that cancel out again.
セカンドチェック
Oh. Denied by a Sentinel, but he does have the Palamedes. Unfortunately, Kattani does not check the heal trigger, which means with a score of 2-1, TZ111 wins this game and is moving on to the semi-finals, folks. And that will be it for PPGCattani. We will see more of TZ111 in the semifinals, so stay tuned for that.